Crazy thing is that Israel pays people for social media posts, indicating payments of up to $7,000 per post. That's crazy.
Well, I just don't see how we're supporting this country after the genocide. I just don't see how that's okay to people.
AI-enabled data processing system developed and used by the Israeli occupation forces in their genocidal campaign against Gaza have caught widespread attention, prompting journalists to call Gaza the site of the first AI-powered genocide.
The thing that made me nervous was that same company, Palantir, that was doing all that crazy stuff in Gaza, got a deal in America to create a database.
When I became Muslim, I wanted to pray, but I didn't know how.
And they were no guided salamats to help me either.
That's why these guided salamats are so powerful.
They teach you how to pray step by step.
For just £10, you can help up to 3 people to learn how to pray.
But for £100,
you can guide by the will of Allah
10 to 30 people connect with Allah every single day.
Imagine the reward for every prayer they make.
Every Fajr, every Dhuhr, every Asr, every Maghrib, every Isha.
Every salah they make is on your scale.
Donate now
and help someone stand in prayer today.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. All of a sudden, so many people are silent about Gaza, as if after 2 years of genocide, Israel is just allowed to get away with it because a fake ceasefire is in place. The reality is there is no ceasefire, as Palestinians have been killed by Israel on a daily basis since it was announced, and these killing sprees are continuing as we speak. No accountability for the war crimes, no Netanyahu corruption trial, no Palestinian independence, and no return of land that Israel stole from Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon and Syria. On one of the latest episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast, he hosted comedian Theo where they addressed the Israel issue in a short segment. And not only that, they both noticed something very significant about Israel's continued influence over the US government that not many others have picked up on. Let's watch the first clip.
Be on the side of the greater good of everybody. You have to force politicians to do that, you know.
But is that going to happen with politicians? You know, I mean, look at Eric Adams this morning. He just did or whatever that thing was.
What did he do?
Praised, said he served Israel the best he could. It's like, I don't even know if he feels like America.
Probably wanted a check.
He probably did.
Got a nice check.
I flew over to get that bag.
Yeah, flew over, got the bag, driving a new Cadillac now. Bro, they just pay people. The crazy thing is that Israel pays people for social media posts. Israel has paid social media influencers to post content promoting its image, particularly in the United States, with reports indicating payments of up to $7,000 per post. This campaign, known as the Esther Project, is managed by a firm called Bridges Partners LLC, which works on behalf of the Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The program is disclosed under the U.S. Foreign Agents Registration Act, meaning that these payments are legally reported and require influencers to disclose that their content is funded by a foreign government. That's crazy.
Well, I just don't see how we're supporting this country after the genocide. I just don't see how that's okay to people. And I think that's the part of me that I don't understand, right, about their leadership there and stuff. I just do not understand it. But then you start to think, well, am I crazy? Because it seems like it's just okay that the politicians all think that this is okay, and so few of them speak up about it.
Well, I think this is what's separating the old people from the young people in this country. Like, if you look at the numbers of how many people that are 18 to 34 that support the war in Gaza, it's very low. It's very, very, very low. Because this is the first time you've ever been able to see what happens when a superpower is attacking a country that essentially doesn't have an army, and they're doing it for years, and they're just blowing buildings up. Like, we've never really seen that before. This is the first time in a time where everyone has cell phones, right? Obviously, this has happened. You know, countries have bombed each other, but we didn't get to watch it happen bit by bit. You didn't get to see drone footage that's in 4K. You know, you didn't get to see cell phone footage of missiles being fired into camps of people waiting in line for food. And I think the young people of this country, they don't want any part of anything like that anymore. Well, they have been told by their parents, they've been told by the people they grew up with that war is hell, there shouldn't be any war, and most of this shit happens because people are making money. That's what most of it they prolong it so they can make more money. They want weapons development. They want to launch new shit. They want to sell shit to people that need weapons. And most young people are aware of that now, where I think most people, my parents' age, all they had was the Vietnam War. They knew the Vietnam War was bad. I don't think they really knew the extent of how much corruption is involved in everything.
Yeah.
That our government does.
Both Joe and Theo called out how US government officials are blatantly bending the knee to Israel in exchange for monetary rewards, without a concern for how the public in their home nations view them. Joe Rogan also spoke about the monetary incentives influencers receive from the Israeli government to post pro-Israel propaganda. I've seen some of these sellout influencers be called out online, and they flat out denied this claim as being a conspiracy theory. So for Joe to cite actual sources naming who is paying these people on behalf of Israel, and also that there's a legal paper trail that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Israel is funding these propagandists, exposes all these Hasbara agents for the liars we already knew they were. Theo Vaughn made a valid point that it is absolutely baffling as to why the US is still supporting Israel after the genocide they just committed. I think he was referring to both the US government and certain demographics of the American public. However, as Joe said, the majority of young people in America and across the West are firmly opposed to Israel after witnessing their horrific actions in Gaza. Joe was correct when he said the reason for this is that we all got to see the full extent of the brutality of Israel's war crimes as opposed to other conflicts in the past. And due to the fact it's become open knowledge that the arms manufacturers and these corrupt politicians are all in cahoots and all profit from war. As well as the glaringly obvious imbalance of power we have witnessed, where a country like Israel has billions of dollars worth of weapons being used indiscriminately on Palestinian civilians who don't even have an army to protect them. And not only that, Joe made a point that even I haven't heard before, which was that Gaza was used as a testing ground for AI drone warfare, where an ethnic cleansing experiment was conducted using computer technology to fire missiles at refugee camps and aid collection points, picking people off as if they were characters in a video game. Let's watch the next clip.
Well, for one, it feels like they're going to stop allowing TikTok. Like people are going to own it. I think they're selling it or something, so they probably won't be able to show stuff like that anymore.
Well, they sold it to Larry Ellison's company, right?
That company Palantir that was doing all that crazy stuff in Gaza, they had were compiling data on people that were there, and they were operating a lot of the drones in the sky that also had weapons attached to them.
Okay, so you mean like facial recognition data?
Right. They got a big contract in America now, which is scary to me. That's what's scary to me, that a drone could go by. A bullet comes out of the middle of nowhere.
True.
To me, it's just scary that the company that was allegedly doing that there is the company that we hired to, I believe, create a database. They could potentially be able to do the same thing here. To me, it just kind of tracks where it's like...
Yeah, well, any one private company that has a database and all the information on every person and where you are and what you're doing, yeah, that's sketchy. It's that absolute power corrupts absolutely thing. AI-enabled data processing system developed and used by the Israeli occupation forces in their... This says genocidal campaign against Gaza have caught widespread attention, prompting journalists to call Gaza the site of the first AI-powered genocide. AI technology was reportedly first used in Gaza during Israel's 11-day assault in 2021. During the ongoing genocide, for the first time, it's being used to kill Palestinians at an unprecedented level and at much faster rates. These three known systems identify targets for airstrikes based on Israeli mass surveillance records of the Palestinians in Gaza that have been collected for years by the IOF under the racist framework of monitoring what they deem as threats to the Israeli regime. Listen, I absolutely believe they have that kind of technology where they can recognize your face from the
scariest
air.
part to me, Jamie, will you bring it back up for one more second? The scariest part to me was just the quickness they could do it, and then the review, right? A few Israeli intelligence agents shared with Plus 972 magazine that they personally only take 20 seconds to review and approve the airstrike recommendation.
Using the time only to confirm if the target is a male. Whoa. So they said this in an interview in a magazine, that it only takes 20 seconds to review, and the time is only to confirm if the target's a male. However, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights released a statement revealing that the majority of those killed in Gaza are women and children. Israel says, right? They say that a lot of them were Hamas.
Yeah. Yeah, there was 2-year-old Hamas agents they were finding and shooting. Who knows?
Well, I bet they probably think about them as future, especially now when you've blown up their city.
Oh.
If there were terrorists there, how many are created by watching something like that happen? Quite a bit.
Well, the thing for me, I just thought that America would come help at some point. That was a scary. I think that's when I just thought I just have a different concept of what's going on. I think the thing that made me nervous was that same company Palantir got a deal in America to create a database and help with surveillance and stuff. And made me a little bit nervous, not scared, but just a little bit what's going on here? Are we going to enter a surveillance state?
Both Joe and Theo spoke about the Zionist takeover of TikTok in order to force-feed hundreds of millions of people across the world a pro-Israel narrative. And if you just take a quick glance at X, that algorithm algorithm is even worse, as it's not only completely pro-Israel, it's also totally anti-Islam and anti-Muslim. In my personal opinion, this is going to backfire because they can no longer hide the truth by just buying it off like they did before the days of social media, where the mainstream press was the only source peddling Israeli lies. Other platforms will spring up, and the people who are actually talking truthfully about Israel and Zionism will gain the biggest followings, even if they get banned, with Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson being prime examples of this. Theo Von was correct to express concern at the fact that Palantir, a software company that's responsible for collecting the personal data of Palestinians and operating the drones that killed them, now have a contract to do the same to US citizens should they wish to. The fact that this organisation that is deeply complicit in the Gaza genocide is being rewarded with contracts from the US government is absolutely sickening. I'm surprised no one else has noticed this except Theo Von and just a handful of other people. Even Joe Rogan acknowledged how dangerous this is. Joe bringing light to Israel's AI-conducted genocide experiment in Gaza on his platform is huge, as it exposes how they are manipulating people's personal data and using it for the ultimate evil, which is murder. Theo and Joe also revealed how this technology is able to recognise whether or not Palestinians are adult males within 20 seconds, to make the point that since the majority of Israel's victims have been women and children, the IDF have been very deliberate in targeting defenceless and vulnerable people who are very clearly non-combatants. The most disheartening part about all of this is how hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in Gaza, with the Israeli government and military facing no repercussions. And just because they've slightly slowed down the slaughter, they expect to not only be absolved of their sins, but for their crimes against humanity to be forgotten about completely. Hence why going forward we have to be even more relentless in our efforts to oppose these people. And no matter how much censorship they impose on us, or the billions they spend on propaganda to deflect away from what they're doing, we must keep demanding that they be held to account for what they've done. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.